Hey everyone, this is Tim's over at Tim's Freeforms. Just wanted to show you guys how I select pieces of Corvette Fordite to cut, what I look for, and how I think about attacking these pieces. So this piece here is a nice piece of Corvette. I generally cut from top coat down. The reason for that is that it tends to have the best colors right underneath the top coat. And a lot of the texture comes into play when I have the top coat. So this piece here I selected because it has some good top coat. It also has a nice shape going to it already. I really like pointed edges, so I'm going to utilize this shape here and kind of cut a sharp angle here and a sharp angle here, and then keep this side rounded. It'll be definitely a freeform style piece, which is what I'm known for, and I'm very excited to give this a shot. Now onto the back here. This is what makes Fordite challenging. This has a radial curve to it. I don't know if you can see up here how it swoops up. I personally will want to flatten that. And it will be a challenge. And that's why I actually run at a lower grit to start off my pieces, because I do a lot more smoothing and shaping than I think most people do. So I'm going to flatten this back out and we'll clean it up, and it'll match the front here. So we have this big wide edge as well that's going to need some work. And I'm personally a fan of rounding edges. I feel like it ends up taking a better polish. It feels better in the hand. So I'll most likely utilize that technique on this piece. But this is kind of what we're starting with here. So watch what this looks like, and we'll see how we can transform it. I'm going to take you through all the wheels, and we'll do it. So you should always wear a mask or a respirator. I mean, that's just a fact. Obviously for this video, I'm going to go without one, just so you guys can hear me a little bit better. Get the best quality respirator you can. This is not sufficient, okay? Get something that's much better than this. You also really want to wear gloves. I'm not going to lie to you, I've had some skin issues from cutting Fordite without gloves, and I do truly recommend always wearing gloves. Protect yourself at all costs. The water does help reduce dust load, which is great, so I'm going to be utilizing that today on my CAD machine. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to start at my 180 grit. That's going to do a lot of my rough shaping. I'm going to have to eat a lot of this away, like I said, due to this rounded back. So to make this flat, I'm going to utilize this first wheel. I also do have a flat lap, which I will sometimes use. I find that my CAD machine takes it away a lot quicker, takes the material away a lot quicker, but it doesn't produce as flat of a back perfectly. And then you'll see kind of what I do to shape this up. Like I said, I'm going to try to keep a sharp edge here, a sharp edge here. Okay? All right, so here we are. You always want to make sure you have good water flow. The Cab King, this is only a 6-inch. If you can afford an 8-inch, I would highly recommend it. Better wheel spacing. Here we go. So I'm going to start with the back here. You want to keep the piece moving. Keeping the piece moving prevents scratches. What I normally do, I'll do kind of one up, one down. I'll count this out, maybe about 4, and then I'll rotate. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. And that tends to keep a more even flatness to it versus just cutting from one side. You really want to try to cut from all sides if you can. So we're going to cut this video here. Alright, so here we are. Still trying to get this down. And what you do is you kind of rotate the piece and pull towards the outside. That's the technique I like to use. I want to reiterate that I am self-taught. I do not have professional training. These are things that I picked up over the years. So do what you want with that information. And you can see, even at 180, it's not a quick process. I've gotten a little bit of it down. I'm flattening it out, but it's going to take a minute. So people who start at, say, 280, it's impossible to really get that down. It'll take a lot of time. So here you can see, so that is going to go away. We're going to get rid of that redness, and we're going to continue to smooth it out. But you can see that's already getting smoother here. But it is taking some time. And don't worry, you can continue to fix this up as we go down the wheels. I want to get a general shape out of this and make sure I don't have any deep scratches. That's really what I'm trying to avoid here. And so I'm going to hit this side a little bit just because it has some saw marks from cutting it.
and I'm going to do a rotation, and I like to work up the wheel. That's something that I was taught. Of course, I will do both ways at times, but I will rotate the piece. So I go one direction, rotate one direction, and then I will also come from the sides and use a circular motion. Keep it moving, keep it moving. Now this little bottom part, I need to round a little bit. So this I find very important to work in a circular pattern. You'll get flat spots. All right, so I'm gonna start cutting some of this top coat down, and we'll keep refining the shape as we go. So I'm gonna follow this curve here. You can see that due to the depth, this area is not getting touched yet. So that's what makes it a little bit challenging. Do I want to leave some of that redness at some point, or do I want to cut through it and make it all a solid coat of color? We'll see. I generally let the piece dictate to me a little bit what it wants. And that's why I call myself kind of freeform-esque, because I don't really have a plan sometimes. But you can see there's different levels on this top coat. And so the wheel has not even hit this area yet. I continue to work the back and smooth it out. I do like, this is a 220 now, which I really like, this wheel. It's much softer, less aggressive. I mean, I say that, but it's still pretty aggressive for Fordite. When I get to the next wheel, that's where it's going to start to do a combination of our initial pre-polishing, essentially. Now, ideally, you would be stopping in between each piece, in between each wheel, and drying it off and looking for scratches. That's what you should be doing. Not just transitioning to the next wheel without looking at your piece, because what will happen is you'll get to the end and you will have scratches that you could have found much earlier in the process, and you're going to have to now go back and get those scratches out. So it is a better process to stop after each wheel, dry it off, and look for scratches. Of course, we're all lazy at times. I know myself. I will just want to try to get through the wheels, and I end up paying for it at the end. And that's often why at times I have to go back to a piece several times to finish it. So be patient, do the right, pathway the first time. Don't waste your time. I'm continuing to move this piece in a circular fashion, pulling towards the edges, which does round my edges. But let's see what the back is looking like now. You can, it may be hard to tell from the video, but it is still very deep right there. And you can tell because the color bands are not the same. If it was nice and flat, you're going to have all consistent color banding throughout. But it changes right to this dark layer here, and that's going to be our deepest spot. You can see it changing, banding coming out. All right, here we go. Continuing to pull to the outside, pull to the outside. Pull, rotate, pull, rotate. That's the technique that I use for certain pieces, not every piece. But what I'm going for with this piece, I'm doing the pull, rotate. And it is going to round the edges, which will cause that line border I was talking about, but you know what, that's okay. So I'm going to continue making sure I have my shape. Alright, here's what we're working with a little bit. You can see those lines coming out where I'm rounding it here. But since this is more of a flat area, it's retaining its color pattern here. I'm gonna try to hit this a little bit harder, reduce some layers, and then we're gonna move on for the sake of the video. Okay. Now I'm going to the back again, see what we can do with the back. And you know, there are ways to get a good polish with these low spots, which I'll show you in some additional videos. I use the edges of my buffing wheels, my soft cotton buffs, to be able to get into low spots. But that is a more advanced technique that I've found more recently. Looking at a piece like this, you can see color coming through here and there. They don't look very nice, do they? So those areas I'm going to try to refine. This is a lower spot here as well. That's why it has such a different color than the rest of it. You can see I'm starting to get my line borders because I've been rounding the edges, which it's okay. I'm just showing you guys what I'm doing. But let's continue on. Almost there. There we go. Okay. So. Okay. I'm going to do kind of some last rotations here on the 280, which is a great wheel. Get it to the point that I really like before moving on. It's this area, you know, so when I look at this piece, I want to color match a little bit. So I got the orange down here, the orange up here. This yellow, I want to try to get rid of a little bit. And it's a little challenging because it's a lower area. This is that piece right there where it kind of went well on me. So it's better than it was. I didn't like the green in there. I'm going to continue a little bit more before transitioning here to the 600 grit. All right, we're going to call this what it is for now. And so I am focusing a lot of my energy on that area to see if I can kind of smooth it out a little bit better. You can see with the rounding of the edges, I'm getting that line pattern. So it's something, you know, if you like, you like. Transition to this 1200. So I'll tell you right now, a lot of people stop at the 600. I know a lot of professionals stop at the 6 and go to their final polishing steps. I like to go to 1200 and then go to my final polishing steps. I used to go to 3000. I used to do a couple, like a 5000 and 8000 before I went to my final. I feel that it makes no difference ultimately because I have a really good 4-stage final polish. But let's see what this 1200 does. I've been having some water issues on this wheel, so let's see how much flow I can get. You really want to make sure you keep your friction down. Heat is the enemy when it comes to these things. Okay. So this is pretty good. I mean, depending on what you're going for, you know, I can go to a final polish at this point. It looks pretty good. You may want to work this area more depending on what colors you're going to pull out, but I think we have a decent piece here. So I'm going to hit it a little bit longer, and then we're going to take a break, and I will show you what it looks like. Look at this, guys. Got some nice blue coming out up here. Very cool. So that was different from the start. That came on the 1200 wheel. So I know there's more blue deep down here. If I wanted to keep cutting, I could pull out blue. But again, I like the different transitions I have here. This is probably my least favorite area right now. So I'm going to work that a little bit more. So let's watch this. You see this silver spot right here? I'm going to get rid of it. Let's see if we can make this all orange. You can see it fading away, but I'm also losing some of the orange. So you got to make a decision how you want to play it. But I like that. I like what's happening down there. So give it a little bit more rub. You can see it's almost gone. That's pretty cool. I like the black eye in the orange. I think that's always a nice contrast. I'm going to go a couple more times here, and we're just going to call it quits for the sake of the video. But I think this gives you guys a general idea of the process here. And we're going to dry this piece off, and we're going to show you what it looks like after 1200 dry. All right, let's take that break. All right, so this is what it is wet after 1200. Let's take it to the cloth and dry it up a little bit here. Here's what we're working with, dry. So you can see there's a little bit of a shine to it. It's still pretty matte though. So this is where you're going to need to have your 4-stage final polishing. But you can see with that angle I originally cut on the 180 grit, it's got a nice little shape to it. I would do a little bit more refining before putting this to market for sale for sure. But this gives you a general idea of what I'm doing. I will show you the final polishing stages here in a little bit. Thank you.